Now to the Israel-Hamas war. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says dozens were killed by Israeli airstrikes yesterday across northern Gaza.
The attacks hit 4 separate neighborhoods in Gaza City where Israel says it was targeting Hamas terrorist infrastructure. And CBS 2's Bradley Blackburn joining us live from the newsroom now with the very latest on all of it. Bradley.
Doug, Elaine, in just the past 24 hours, the Hamas-run health ministry says more than 100 Palestinians have been killed and nearly 170 wounded. The death toll in this war stands at more than 37,000, and it's still growing.
The frantic moments after the strike in the Al-Shati refugee camp show buildings blown to rubble and the desperate search for survivors. Gaza's civil defense agency says dozens were killed and more wounded or missing in what's described as a residential complex. Israel's military said its fighter jets struck 2 Hamas military sites. To the south, in Rafah, where Israel's ground invasion continues, the International Red Cross said 22 people were killed and 45 wounded after the shelling of a tent camp near a field hospital. The Israeli military said the incident is under review, but the Associated Press reports the camp may have been outside an Israeli-designated safe zone. Meanwhile, the Israeli military is intensifying attacks on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Israel says Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, continues to fire projectiles into northern Israel. The UN Secretary General warned about the conflict turning into a wider war.
One rash move, one miscalculation could trigger a catastrophe that goes far beyond the border and, frankly, beyond imagination.
In the Red Sea, the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels have stepped up attacks on shipping vessels. And on Saturday in Tel Aviv, tens of thousands called for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of remaining hostages.
U.S. officials have said they believe a ceasefire in Gaza will help stop attacks along Israel's northern border with Lebanon. But the U.S. is also trying to broker a diplomatic solution to contain that conflict. Doug, Elaine.
Bradley, thank you. The extreme heat has been deadly in the Middle East, where it's being blamed for killing more than 1,000 people during the Hajj pilgrimage. 2 American citizens were among those who died during the pilgrimage to Mecca this past week. Officials in Cairo say they have revoked the licenses of 16 travel agencies that helped unauthorized pilgrims travel to Saudi Arabia. Deaths are not uncommon at the Hajj, but this year's tally was unusually high, suggesting exceptional circumstances.
Former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan has marked 2,000 days in Russian custody. The corporate security executive reached the grim milestone on Wednesday. Whelan was arrested in Moscow in December of 2018 and sentenced to 16 years in prison on espionage charges. The 54-year-old has denied those charges, and the U.S. government has been trying to negotiate for his release for years with no success.